And of course, we need to be critical, but as we do so, we also need to remember that since 1994, massive progress has been made in changing the lives of our people for the better. There may be weaknesses, but the lives of our people have improved for the better. On the other hand, unbridled positivity and defensiveness can make us miss fundamental weaknesses and thus would be unable to correct the systemic problems that face the movement. It is correct and it is encouraging that the most sensitive of issues, including about corruption and state capture, are now surfacing in formal discussions, be it at the NEC, PECs, RECs, and so on, rather than just in the corridors. It's a first step towards correcting these issues. And one can also say that the December fiasco at National Treasury, what some of us now refer as 9/12, had its own silver lining. And what was that silver lining? Two of them, in fact. The first one, I think, was about a lesson in Economics 101 on the limits of political power in a small, open economy. The second lesson, which has started to manifest in what has happened since then, is the need for social compacting. We might, all of us, have noticed government, business, the trade union movement, and others working together in order to avert a ratings downgrade and even discussing issues about how we can raise the trajectory of our growth to a higher level. But having said this, the sense that one has is that there is an element of what the Greeks call hubris, a defiance of the gods, which can only result in what the Greeks call nemesis, which is self-destruction. From the strange things that are happening at SARS, in the Hawks, the NPA, Denel, and so on, a cabinet statement released by a minister which never was. All these tell us, in my view, that the beneficiaries of corruption and state capture will not give up without a fight. That we should internalize, because attached to that is the question, what should we do? The beneficiaries of state capture and corruption will not give up without a fight. In my view, one of the things that South Africa seems to have avoided is a case that has manifested in some countries in post-colonial Africa, and that is the entrenchment of ethnicity as the basis of self-image amongst the majority of the people. Whether we agree with them or not, one thing that we should celebrate is that the three largest parties in South Africa seem to have somewhat of a national footprint. The third trend, which is something perhaps that can be celebrated, is that South African politics is shifting leftwards. The DA is trying to fish in a bigger pond amongst black people, and so they are compelled to come up with positions that would attract their attention. And of course, the emergence of the EFF at least in terms of what they say, which might be different from what they do. All that is shifting South African politics leftwards. What about the local government elections? From there, as we all know, clearly the ANC is in steep decline. 65% 2006, 62 2011, and now 54%. And now it's not just the fickleness of the middle class. In fact, the biggest declines were in the Northwest first, Limpopo second, and I think Gauteng third. So even in the rural areas, we're starting to experience difficulties. But this is what we need to internalize. That stay away was not accidental. It was an expression of protest about, one, candidate selection processes, and secondly, and I'm talking about things that emerge from research, secondly, due to corruption and state capture, particularly at national level, which have sullied brand ANC. Supporters of the ANC who didn't come out are not regretting. And they are saying, if you do not correct these weaknesses that are there in the ANC, wait for 2019 and we'll punish you even more. This is a message from the mass of the people. Unity of the African people, and we need to ask ourselves the question, especially as the ANC, is it not our divisions that make these incursions possible?